Would you call yourself courageous? Have you in your life witnessed courageous people? I certainly have. And today I'd like to talk about courage and courageous people. And after witnessing my partner's 5-year challenge with the terminal illness, now admittedly it didn't start out terminal, but it became terminal. It took courage. Some days it took courage to just face the day. I don't think I was thinking about it then because it wasn't uppermost in my mind. But boy, did I see courage in her. Did I see courage in hospitals with people struggling, people stripped down to the core for whatever reason, medical condition. You know, in all of those situations, we become disarmed, don't we? And what do you do? What do you do when you're disarmed? You have to dig pretty deep to rise up again to be able to contribute to whatever's going on. Now, one of the days when I thought I witnessed courage, and it was an interesting time, really, it was when my partner had a group of medical, what shall I call them? Just different people from different modalities, physios, social worker, you name it, occupational therapists, specialists, all of those people. And they were conducting an interview. Now, here's the thing. I wasn't there, but I was on the phone. Now, I don't know about you, and I was going to say, does this have to happen? And I'm preempting what I was going to say. So this particular day was a group meeting, a team meeting about my partner and what was the next part of the process. And I have to say that I thought that well, there was more of them than there was her. Now, I asked them if I could possibly be involved, but I'm still working. So I found out at the last minute this meeting was happening. So I went just on the phone, and it was all on loudspeaker. But I had this very strong picture of her being in the bed, and all of these people, I think there was 7 or 8 people in the room. Imagine that small hospital room, 7 or 8 people discussing you without any advocate there. Then I come onto the scene through the phone. Now, I could tell by her voice that it's a pretty gutsy effort here. Sitting in a bed, already disarmed, just sitting there in a vulnerable state. Now, I'm highlighting this because I know she's not the only one, but I really want us to think about it because I'm reflecting on it now, months later. How can we do things like that? How can we, if you find yourself in that situation, which is why I'm saying we, how can we help support in a way that that person, in that instance, sitting in the bed with a whole team around, discussing her prognosis, the next steps forward, how the heck can we do this differently? So the patient, let's call it, doesn't feel like it's them and us. You know, even on the phone, I could feel in her voice, and she wasn't asked her opinion very much, I must say. They were talking, it seemed, across her, and I was intervening. I was annoying again. I'm sure they'd say that about me. But they were making bold decisions, and I'm not sure that I'm convinced. And this is subjective, right? I've deliberately waited till there's some space between that event and now so that I'm not totally subjective about this, because I know she's not the only one that's in this situation. I bet it happens every day. But how can we make it more empowering for the person in the bed, the person in the chair? Have you ever sat in a chair, for example, and had a lot of people stand above you? It's horrible. It's disarming. It's no different in the bed. In fact, I think it's worse, because usually we've got our nighties on or her pajamas or something, and that's disarming in itself. So think about this. How could we do it? And how much more powerful would it be if we had an advocate? Now, I was pretty strong, and I was just on loudspeaker on the phone. But, you know, sometimes when I was intervening to have my say about what was going to happen to my partner, I could feel my heart beating loudly. There was some trepidation in that. Now, did I use courage in that instance? Well, I think I might have. Was I aware? Probably not. I knew that I had to be thoughtful. I knew I had to be kind. I wanted and was really searching and looking for the best outcome for her. And how do we all create that? So my role in that moment was, what is it you want to do, Jean? What is it? So I kept wanting to bring the conversation back to her. And then they get in another discussion that mostly didn't involve her. So my question is, how can we do this better? Look, and I know, because I saw it firsthand, and I've seen it lots of times, that the medical system seems to be under enormous pressure. So I want to reiterate, this is not a personal attack on anyone. It's about the system. And when you think of how much knowledge we have in this time of our lives, in this day and age, I think that's probably the best way to put it. Why can't we make this better? How can we do it differently? In my work as a psychotherapist, a coach, a nurse, you know, I'm always looking for the best outcome. I'm always looking for appealing from the best in me to the best in you, if you're my client. I think we need to get back to basics in the medical profession. I think we need, and I've already said, our doctor was like, I couldn't fault her. She was sensational. But it's about speaking kindly, being cooperative, listening, actually attending to the conversation, really listening to understand rather than listening to respond. And does that all take courage? I think it does. If you're one person and you've got 7 people there discussing your life, one, how long you might live, and what style of lifestyle, that doesn't make sense, does it? What style of lifestyle, but what is your lifestyle going to look like? I think it takes a bit of guts. My question to you is, would you do it? Would you advocate for someone? I think we need more advocates for people in these situations. And then you might say, well, it's a numbers game. Everyone's under pressure. They've got to bring all those people in together to have the best outcome. Yes, I know that. I agree with that. But there must be a better way of doing it rather than talking across the patient's bed. I was on the phone, I could feel it. I had to keep intervening, saying, what about? And I think we've lost the plot. If it has to be up to me as a witness, as the carer, as the person who cares about that person, if it has to be up to me to make the interventions and to keep pushing for the best outcome. And don't get me wrong, some of those people were very kind, and it wasn't their fault that they were under the pump. But I think we need to look at our communication in dealing with this. I think we're missing it big time. And look, in some ways that applies across all areas of medical, hospital, waiting rooms, doctor surgeries, doctor's waiting room, those kind of things. I think we have to examine it and decide what changes can we do and how can we make it better for the person who is in the situation. And, you know, I'm grateful every day that this has challenged me into some true reflection about how I would like to be treated. And that's the leveler for me. Because how I want to be treated is how I want to be treating people. And I want it to be different. I would love your comments. I hope I've painted a reasonable picture so you can comment and think about being an advocate for someone that you love. Now, that meeting that I described happens every day in hospitals, and I know it has to be pushed out for a time for everyone to make it. But hang on a minute, we're talking about this one person, and this one person needs support. I don't care who they are. When we're talking about events in our lives that are critical, important, worthy, all of those things, I think it's time for an advocate. And there may well be some good services. I haven't found any near me, but my research continues. And do subscribe, but let's have some conversation. I would love to hear from you. This is Mary Scott. Thanks for watching. Have a beautiful rest of your day.